yet another Free Palestine psycho. This one apparently was in the state legally. Is that correct? Anybody want to fact check me on that? I think he was here legally. They originally said he was an illegal.
All the reporting I've seen is that he was illegal.
Illegal.
Yeah, it's hard to believe a lot of these reports because a lot of people just put out what they want to be the case. And
mainstream media was reporting that he was illegal.
Yeah, early reporting is always usually wrong.
So there's 9 injured, 1 critical. He was here illegally. He had overstayed U.S. visa.
That was issued under Biden.
Under Biden. And his American as apple pie, Mohammed Sabri Saliman.
An Egyptian national.
Yeah. And, without getting too graphic because we're still multi-streaming, as we get more people to sign up for Rumble Premium, we'll do a members only section after the show. But for right now, I just want to keep the show free. He had like a flamethrower or something like that. He had Molotovs.
He had a homemade flamethrower and other incendiary explosive devices.
Yeah.
And he was going after kids, right? There was like kids that were injured. This was a march for, it was very targeted, right? They knew
victims are older. What I saw was that it was the victims are between 58 and 80.
Okay.
Which is, and this is a weekly walk that they hold. So it's a regular event. It's not, it's special in the sense that it's unusual, but it is reoccurring.
He had, after the incident, investigators found yet another black container with 14 more Molotovs near the spot where he was arrested. Inside his vehicle, investigators also found paperwork with the words Israel, Palestine, and USAID. He was admitted into the country via a tourist visa. During the Biden administration, he overstayed. We should just end all visas, period, right now, until we get to such a point in which we can have a proper vetting system. Sorry, no more student visas. You have to go back. No more tourist visas. You have to go back. I'd actually be fine with closing off tourism from many nations as well, or visits, to be honest with you. But, what do you make of, this is ramping up. This is not getting worse. And we know that Boulder is pretty progressive, right?
Yeah.
Boulder was like, hey, we're not going to let the ice come in here and clear out the Trendy Skittles.
Aragua.
Yeah.
Say it.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting to see this happen in Boulder. There are people that were like, by the way, you shouldn't throw water on people who have, a flammable liquid on them. Just saying. Yeah. I know people, try to do the best they can, but no, you got to smother them. You don't you don't want to.
But they see fire and they're like, that means water. It's the same thing with kitchen fires, right? Like if it's an oil or grease fire, you're supposed to smother it, not throw water on it. I hate to say this. There are 2 things that popped into mind when I started seeing images from this. The first one is, are the liberals or people who are anti this type of action finally going to get on board with deporting people who are here illegally? This is one of the more obvious cases of if he had been deported after his visa expired, he would not be here to cause violence. But that's a logical statement that always seems to get rejected. I also, and again, I don't know why I keep thinking about this, but why does this man not have a shirt? I don't really understand the fashion choice made here unless something else happened. It seems a little bit weird. I think that, keep going.
I think people just take off their shirts when they're having a melty bee.
A melty bee?
Yeah.
Melty D.
Melty D. Yeah. He also may have spilled flammable liquid on it, to be honest.
Maybe that was it. It's kind of fascinating to me. And again, I don't know that this is super relevant, but the FBI has announced they're investigating this as an act of terror, which this seems to be
obvious.
What do you mean? Okay, it's a terror act. It is sort of funny to me that they aren't investigating it as a hate crime. Obviously, I don't really think hate crimes should be something that are illegal in a country with free speech. But fascinating, right? That they didn't jump to hate crime; they jumped to terror. Also, it's a foreign national talking about a war that's going on between 2 foreign nations in America. This shouldn't be something we are dealing with, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's almost like importing these people en masse has a penalty or has a price. I don't want you. part of the language that we saw in the organization that the DC shooters group had, they had specifically had flyers that said, bring the war home. Like advocating to bring these acts of resistance to America, and this is like...
Do they think that will make people spring into action on their side if it's happening on our soil? That would make me want to deport and remove, That brings out the most isolationist streak in me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these people are dumb. So they probably think that, like, yeah, once they see these demonstrations, all I think about is like, I don't care if you're an American citizen and you're supporting this, you can F right off too. Like, I does not make... They have a huge optics problem on the left.
Yeah. What do you make of Laura Loomer coming out and saying that the whole Palestine movement should be designated a terrorist organization?
I wouldn't go that far. But we've had... Let's just count it down, right? We had 2 people self-immolate. We had 1 person try to burn the governor, his wife and kids down while they were sleeping. We had a DC shooter, and now this guy. So I guess I'm warming up to the idea.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like it's a peace movement. Again, I agree with you. I don't know if I would go as far as Laura Loomer did, but it doesn't seem like you can just treat it like it's a bunch of kids hanging out on college and having an encampment. And even then, especially at Columbia, they took over a building. It's always had a streak of hostility and violence to it. I think that it is crazy that we have people who are willing to potentially put American lives at risk over a foreign conflict on our soil, and we don't treat it like it is something that we don't benefit from. For some reason, a lot of American officials want to stay entangled with this. And it just brings out my most America first agenda. I don't know that this serves the people the way people think it does. What do you think of what Laura said?
I mean, look what just happened in Washington, D.C. Look at this kind of incident. You have MSNBC. I sent the clip in the private chat, but I think Jeremy went off there for a little bit. But, clearly this guy wasn't speaking English well. He was screaming "Free Palestine." He was throwing explosive devices at peaceful protesters. His name was Mohammed Solomon. And the media is like, oh, we don't know his motives. we don't know what he was all about.
He's telling you his motives.
Yeah, exactly. So the media is reporting on this was just absolutely ridiculous, especially MSNBC describing this guy as a white male, which again was just a big kind of disservice here. I don't think you could label a whole group. I think we should be careful with these like massive generalizations. I think it's more fair to say maybe there should be some targeted surveillance on some of the more radicalized, crazy individuals that are calling for Luigi Mangione to be freed. Those type of individuals, and you could, of course, see the hallmarker of that while going after people who are being radicalized, but not labeling a whole group that. I think it would be absolutely very inflammatory, very unfair to say everyone who has some kind of sentiments that are not 100% in line with this type of thinking, that automatically you're a terrorist. I don't think that should be used here as well. Obviously, this is a very highly inflamed issue in more ways than one. And I see a lot of people just kind of emotionally losing their minds here rather than thinking logically. This is also on the heels of Greta Thunberg announcing that she's going to be breaking the blockade into Gaza. A lot of the times when activists try to do this, they're met with force. So I think that's going to be another big issue that we're going to be seeing that I think is going to escalate the scenario and situation, as there's a lot of accounts online calling for something bad for her to happen just because she wants to do what she's doing. I don't like Greta's climate change stuff, but this is definitely going to make it a center point issue, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Well, I don't know what your predictions are, but I think it's fair to assume here that this could potentially lead up to a sort of summer of love type of moment.
I mean, I think we're sort of already in that because we've already had demonstrations and attacks on, people in America. I don't know that the people involved with these this political conflict, whether you're on the side of Gaza or on the side of Israel, are likely to riot in cities. That doesn't seem to be their motif. There was a little bit of a move in the fall to bring back the encampments on college campuses that were so popular in the spring of last year. And obviously that didn't really happen. But I do think that there is a tendency or desire to escalate, especially for people who feel like it's not getting the coverage that they need, or that a potential peace deal is on the line and they don't agree with the terms. But I think the fact that this is, I think there is something sad about this being a conflict that continues on and on, because no one can win it. It's a complete lose-lose scenario for everybody, no matter what deals are reached. And
Israel can win.
You think Israel can win
if they do what they really want to do? If they would just do what they really want to do.
People, and they have lost they have lost lives over this conflict as well.
That's true. But one of those nations could just level the other one?
Right. I mean, that's the thing about it. Like, Israel has always had more force than Gaza has. So yeah, it's not something that I think people want to talk about, but there is just
they could glass it if they wanted to. The thing is, it's just like with the Russian war. Like, Russia could win this war much faster, but it's like they have to escalate it to a point where there's other consequences. Israel could just end this war overnight. And it's not, you can be an uncomfortable thing to say. I wouldn't support it, but part of me is like, okay, 500 years of war, or you just, you go the option of saying like, all right, look, we're done. We're done going from house to house. We're done doing this. That's it. I won't go into I don't support it. I'm just saying
it's on the table.
It's got to be on the table for them to say like, well, how long are we going to play footsie here? Like, let's just win. Like, there's no. Oh, go ahead.
What do you think America's obligation is right now?
Zero.
Because obviously the idea that people are like, let's bring this to the soil, like, do they need to become more heavily involved with ceasefire talks, or do they need to say we're out completely on both sides? Like, where do we go from here if the obligation is to American citizens and not to citizens of foreign nations?
Well, I think Trump really wanted to get this deal done, and so he's going to linger longer than he should have. America owes these people nothing. I'll be very clear. Owes neither Palestine nor Israel anything. We are at least tangentially responsible for what Israel does with the weapons we happily sell them all the time.
Yeah.
But like the US, I was thinking while I was away about when Luke asked about whether or not this group should be designated the Free Palestine People. I actually changed my mind. I think they should be. I think that what that does is it opens up more lines of investigation and gives you more tools to look into these people. And it's this is not my quote, but it really reminds me, somebody much smarter than me had a quote about Islam that said something like, it's not the 1% of radicals in Islam that you need to worry about. It's the 40% of them that agree with it.
Yeah. And it's like those who tolerate the radical behavior.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the Free Palestine movement. This is a movement that largely supports this. Now, I don't know if they would come out and say they support Molotoving elderly people, but there were absolutely people that were making excuses for that lunatic from Chicago who went to D.C. and just took the lives of 2 Israelis for no reason, indiscriminately. There was a lot of people justifying that. No. There were a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that the left, much like Islam, has a huge portion of them that are totally fine with violence and designating them as this group opens up more surveillance because we clearly need it. I mean, was this going to be a thing that happens every week now in America? another, foreigner or local born person is going to take the life of somebody because their parents were from Israel. Like it's untenable. You got to do something about it. And these people don't care about going to prison. Like,
yeah, it seems like there is and I think this is not just true of the Free Palestine movement, but of a lot of progressive causes in the country. It seems like there is an increasing warmth towards violence or vigilantism. That's what we saw with Luigi Mangione. Like, there is this idea that, like, well, they had it coming, right? And like, I don't think, the law and order back the blue average conservative Republican leaning person is okay with it the same way that it seems to be trending among progressive, especially like radically progressive groups.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like up for debate. Like they designated J6, right? I'm pretty sure. They gave the J6 people a similar designation, didn't they not? They call them domestic terror,
Well, the corporate media did, but I don't think there was an official kind of designation.
Not an official?
If you're designated a terrorist organization, you can't travel, you can't have a bank account. I think people who express political opinions, it shouldn't be done because there's going to be a lot of innocent people caught up in the fray that are going to be arbitrarily punished. So I think that's a horrible idea. I think
we have the train dilemma.
Yeah, well, I think no, not really. You could also just do targeted surveillance of radicalized individuals, and I think saying, okay, these are the radicalized, these are the really crazy ones. We should keep an extra eye on them to make sure that they don't do anything. I think that's a lot smarter than saying anyone who expresses their political opinion should be debanked. I think the fear that
the administration, the government is the ones determining what is deemed extremism, and especially under the Biden administration, I mean, it was like Latin mass Catholics that were considered extremists. It's such a tightrope to walk if you're starting to say the government should be surveilling people based on whether or not they decide they're extreme. Because I think what a Democratic president thinks is extreme, or at least his advisors deem extreme, is not something I would agree with. It's hard to open that door and then everything back between 4-year shuffles of administrations.
Yeah, I mean, and Luke's right. Like, I wouldn't want these, wokies getting debanked. So I guess for that reason, if that's part of the consequence, then I wouldn't support it. But I would support a lot more surveillance on these people, and because clearly they've earned it. Now, I don't know if this guy was a hashtag Free Palestine guy. Sometimes crazy people who are looking for a way out, they'll attach themselves to political cause and they don't actually even have anything to do with it. Would an Egyptian, the big thing too is a lot of the Free Palestine people are just doing it because they're Muslim and there are other Muslims in Palestine. And so this guy's Muslim, so maybe, that's the case. I don't know. The fact that we have, the aftermath on tapes, pretty interesting. Oh, here it is. So this looks like you spray your lawn with this. That was his flamethrower. They like, by the way, the fact that the cops didn't, well, I can't say that. I would have handled
the members
it very
that were
differently.
multi-streaming.
Yeah. I would have preferred it be handled a very different way. Instead, this guy's going to sit in American jail, and we're going to,
Well, let's return to the central thesis then, which is that we should have been deporting people who stay on visas illegally, or stay on expired visas. I mean, ultimately, in a weird way, this is actually an issue that would have been solved by more proactive protectionist immigration policy, and the Biden administration didn't do that. I mean, I haven't looked into what type of visa he was on and anything like that.
Visa.
But a tourist visa. Okay, great. So that one would have been an easy one to enforce.
Right.
I don't understand. I don't want to make everything about immigration, but in this case, it seems like we could have protected people who were demonstrating in America, as is their fundamental right, no matter what the cause is, if you had enforced immigration deportation status.
They did do a hate crime, by the way. They did add that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This morning when I was reading stuff, it was just federal. He'd been charged twice for murder, and it was a federal terror investigation. But of course, I guess then they're kind of equally applying hate crimes, which that's a whole different topic.
I don't even want to try them. I just want to put him on, put him on, send him home. Just get out. Do I want to pay my tax dollars? What's worse? I have to pay for this guy to have, you know, three hots and a cot for the next 30 years, or I just send him back. Like,
it's crazy that you can't be like, yes, we have convicted you and now we are deporting you, you know? But I guess he has to stay here and serve out his jail sentence if he's convicted, which seems dumb, but
I don't want to pay for that. I think what you do is, if you're Trump, he's from Saudi Arabia. He has a great relationship with the Saudis. Here's what you say if you're Trump. You say,
I thought it was Egypt.
Or Egypt. Fine. He has a good relationship with Egypt too. Just say, hey man, can you take care of this for me? And he'll say, yes, Mr. President. Here's a gold chain to wear upon your head. And then whatever happens to him over there, and we don't have to pay for it. You know, they can just handle it that way. That way he doesn't come back.
Have you ever heard stories about people who are homeless who will like commit small crimes during the winter so that they have a place to stay and food and whatever, and then they get released? Like, is this going to be a thing for illegal immigrants? Be like, well, you know, I could be in America for a while and then get, you know, get whatever resources prisoners in America get, and then
it's better than what I have.
Get released. Like, what's the game plan here? I just hate that this is like escalating in America, because it seems like I wish, and I know on both sides this issue is deeply personal for a lot of people, but I think that there are so many things going on in America that I wish got more attention. And it's not that this wasn't significant or serious, but I wish that people paid as much attention to the opioid crisis, let's say, or talked as much about the problems facing kids in American foster care. And instead, this foreign conflict continues to be the #1 go-to news story.